Morning World History. I want to go over the project for you, and then I will post a rubric and all of that later today. Today has kind of turned into a crazy day of stuff that needs to get done. So I will make sure you have a rubric. I just want you to get started thinking about it today. You're going to have plenty of time to work on it, so don't stress out. You will have a rubric today, okay? So here's what this is going to look like. You are going to basically attack this goal first of all. So hold on, whoops. Okay, so your goal is going to be that you're going to select one issue around water and food insecurity. So that one issue could just be farming, say factory farming. It could just be getting clean water to communities. It could be reducing waste. It could be changing agriculture and farming practices so we reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It could be reducing meat-rich diets and changing how we do manufacturing around that. It could be that you're just going to look at one element with food waste, or you're going to look at one element with just making sure smaller villages have access to clean water. It could be water conservation on a larger scale, so you're talking about farming, you're talking about cities and individuals, but you're going to look at one element, whatever you want of those elements that we talked about, one issue that really stands out to you, okay? So obviously they all interlink and are all related to each other. Like water is also a part of farming, and it's also a part of animal production. So like I understand they all interlink, but you can pull that into your project, but you just are focusing on one issue that you want to address, okay? So you're selecting one goal, one issue to address around water and food insecurity. If you are stuck on that, we can have a conversation and talk it out, okay? Then after you have found that goal, and really think about something that really speaks to you that you felt was critical to address, okay? Obviously they all need to be addressed, but you're just picking that one part to address, okay? Then your task is that you are going to create a briefing on the issue and a proposal for solution. So you are going to pretend that you are creating a proposal for world governments. So I want you to imagine that you've been invited to the United Nations, where all these world leaders have representatives, and you are going to speak before the UN. And they've asked you to come, and they want to make change in policy and action based on what you present, okay? So take this as a serious chance. There are times when you might in a job actually make a proposal, and that becomes action of what gets done. So really think this out on how your proposal could actually change and implement long-term benefits if you actually came up with something really valid, okay? So it's going to be a proposal that basically has two parts. You're going to give a briefing on that proposal that you make, but you need to talk about the impact it's having on humans and what the problem is, and then you also need to address solution. So they recommend when you either are writing a government official, for real, you're writing a government official, you're meeting with a government official or a higher up official of some kind, that you, one, clearly state the problem and give evidence and facts of what's actually happening. Concise and clearly. You put some human emotional element into it of what you're feeling, how it's impacting people around you, or how you feel personally about it. So you put some personal spin into it. And then you come up with solutions. And you give them solutions to look at, okay? So that's exactly what you're going to do. Share the problem, little personal influence on it, and then you're going to say, here's the solutions, okay? So your proposal that you're going to give to the UN has two parts, okay? And I will break down the points for these two parts later. So part one is a detailed description of the issue and facts. So you're going to say, here's what's really going on. Here's how it's affecting humans, animals, the planet. Here's why it's such a serious issue. All these things are happening. It affects these other things as a result. You're going to include your personal thoughts on that too. Here's what I see happening in my own community. Here's why as a young person I'm worried about what's going to happen in the future. So you are giving a detailed description of the issue. Now I've given you some of that, but you can go beyond that and try to find some more, okay? Part two is a detailed proposal of possible solutions. So if I want to really make a difference, what then are the possible solutions? So I've told you the problem, how personally I feel about it, and now I'm going to give you solutions, okay? And you're going to explain that solution and how it could make a difference over time. Give them evidence of why this could be the solution that they need. And the solution, you're going to come up with 4 total, and those solutions are going to be one under each of these areas. So you need one solution that addresses globally. So world leaders, that they could all cooperate. In that UN video yesterday showed how it's like cooperation is a part of those goals. So for all world leaders to cooperate as nations, here's a global solution. Nationally, so one country or nation by itself, here's a goal that you could attack. Locally, here's what communities or cities could do to make a change. And individually, for people as individual citizens, what can they do to make a change? So like if I'm talking about factory farming, all the way down here at the bottom, it comes down to a choice of what I purchase in the store and what I demand. On the local level, it's about what they provide and will they listen to demand, right? On the national level, what are my rules and regulations and procedures that we're going to put in place to ensure safety? And globally, how do we balance what that looks like for demand, okay? So you're really coming up with 4 solutions, one for each of these areas. If you really feel that somehow one of those doesn't fit, then I need you to explain how the other group could support. So if it's not really a global thing, it's a national thing that needs to happen because that nation's the worst offender or something, then you need to say, okay, but globally, this is how accountability looks for that global entity to hold accountability, okay, or model it for other people or highlight other nations doing it well. So you still need to come up with a solution on how each of these plays a role in whatever problem it is, because these really do encompass all these groups. It's not just about one group, okay? So your solution is going to have at least one for each of these areas, okay? So part 1, explain the problem, lots of facts and details, and your personal feeling. Then part 2, make a detailed proposal of solutions, and your solutions are going to be 4, and there'll be one under global, one under national, one under local, and one under individual, okay? How does a project look? So here we go. I'm going to go over now the project format, okay? So your project format, hold on, fix this. Okay, so you have a few choices for completing the project. You're going to choose one choice. If you come up with something else, another way that you want to do it, just let me know. But I want you to assume that you are actually going to the UN and you are making this proposal. You are telling them what the problem is and you're saying, here's how I think we can fix it. So I want you to pretend you're actually going to go to the UN. There will be so many times in your life, in your career, where you will end up having to make a proposal. And so I want you to figure out how you can do that practice at making this proposal, okay? So 1, you could give a written speech. You could write out a speech that you would give to the world leaders. It can include a PowerPoint or Google Slides if you had graphs or something you wanted to show. But you could write that speech out, addressing those 2 tasks, but you write it out. You could give a video speech or presentation that would be played at the UN. So you would say, hey, today I'm standing before you to show this, and I will include today, later in the rubric, a couple of UN speeches just so you can see an example. Okay, so you could video yourself giving that speech, stand up, here's what I want to say. You obviously can have some notes to read off of, you don't have to memorize it or anything, but you would video that speech. 3, you could make a PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides, but they really need to be detailed and heartfelt because it really is a speech format. So you are putting things on there that really have detail and that are meant to really grab someone's attention and to really show them the issue. So that would definitely have pictures that would illustrate the very nature of this incredible problem and how horrible it is and how those solutions could make a difference, okay? And that could include video clips if you wanted to show video clips in that that you would highlight. So I would want them to see these video clips. You're thinking about how would you convince someone of tackling that issue. The other one is a documentary film. So if you want to make a little documentary film that would be played, that would illustrate the issue, that would somehow, maybe you go into your refrigerator and you pull out all these products that actually are using water and plastic to produce. Or maybe you go to the grocery store and you film something. Maybe you are going around garbage and looking at how much we waste in food. Maybe you're interviewing somebody in a grocery store with social distancing. But you could create a documentary film that highlights what you're trying to show, okay? An exhibit would be the last, another one. You could make a film or an exhibit that you would either film, so you would make this exhibit, and then you would decide whether you wanted to film it and just show me the exhibit or take pictures of the exhibit. So this would be kind of like a museum exhibit. So maybe it would be set up and then the members of the UN would come through and look at it. And they would be educated from your exhibit, okay? So you could also display this on our Zoom call. So on the 19th when it's due, you could actually put this exhibit up and then say, hey, I want to show everybody my exhibit and here's my proposal, okay? Using that exhibit. Number 6, in class on Zoom, you can give your speech. So you could tell me in advance, I want to give this speech in person, pretending that our class is the UN leaders. I know, crazy thought for some of the people in our class. Oh my God, I don't know if we want everybody in charge. But we're going to pretend that we are all in UN leaders and you are presenting to us. You would just give it in Zoom class. Number 7, it's a little different option here. A dramatic solo acting monologue. So here's the thing. You would pretend if you would take on the role of a person, either in the future or a mix, maybe the future and the future where it went well and we came up with solutions, or a person in the future who it didn't go well for. And what if we'd had these solutions, I wouldn't be in this spot. So you're kind of taking on the role, but telling your facts of what's happened and how bad the issue is impacting you and the details of that issue and how solutions could make a difference, but you're presenting it like you're an actor in the scene of the future world where we didn't address this or we did address it and kind of what that looks like. So you become an actor, you're just one person acting, you don't have a whole team, and you're just giving kind of this speech in a monologue form, meaning I'm kind of telling my story, okay? I can talk through with that if you're interested, but you're like, I don't know how that looks. I can help you out, okay? So today, what I want you to worry about until I get you a rubric is this. 1, figure out your issue. What is it you really want to look at? And then 2, start kind of thinking about what the solutions are. And then 3, start thinking about which format you want to do. Don't freak out. Maybe it's best for some of you to start with the project first and figure out what you really want to say and what the facts are, and then look at what your solution is going to be. Then decide on the format. For some of you, it might be I need a format, and then I can decide how I want to tackle it. But really think about your issue today, which issue you want to work on, and then you're going to have to do some research and some fact finding to support this, okay? And you will have to back that up by where you got that information. So I'll explain all that later in the rubric. Don't stress. Have some fun with this. Take this as a chance to really practice your skills of presenting and sharing your ideas, okay? I will post more later. Please call me, reach out, email me. We'll get on a Zoom call, whatever, and I will help you out with this, okay? All right, I love you. I hope this makes sense, and I will give you a breakdown of points and a rubric later, okay?